Okay, let's look at this. This is SineFeld. Because we're dealing with physics, and we're dealing with spirituality, and we're dealing with a war going on, and the Bible says we don't fight amongst the flesh, we fight with powers and principalities. Powers, like math, and principalities, principles of laws. So I think SineFeld is sine field, or sine wave field. Just a way of doing it, writing it out. So here they got Joseph Alexander. Quick look at the way he's positioned. We've got the blue pillar here. We've got the red pillar here, right? Common theme. And what do we got here? Right in the center, dead smack in the middle, we got the black running right up his sweater. Okay? He was positioned like that on purpose. You can bet fucking money for that. Okay? Bet as much money as you want to. He's positioned like that for a reason. Okay? We're busted off on this side. We go this way, and it dead ends with the whole Saturn thing. That's why in the thing with the football player, the black guy, he's flying on a crow, and he blows Saturn up, because that's what's keeping us from getting to here. See that? We can't go anywhere because we're on this pillar, the dead pillar. It ends with the hole there. Looks a little Masonic. So we're going from here to this pillar, and it stops. And we can't make the jump from here to here. And we can't even get over to this side. So this is why you got, see, now we got the red, the blue, and the white, and the black. Okay? So it's all complete here. This is what the whole rainbow thing is trying to, because we can't get to this side, because we keep getting shunted off, because in the Kabbalistic tree here, you know, I don't like using their colors because it's just, I don't like it. We'll use silver. Right here, I just put an X there. We can't go through here because this piece is missing. That would have been Jesus. So Jesus is the cornerstone that the builders rejected. Okay? We can't get out of here because we keep winding up on the dead side. We're dead. The Bible says we're dead. We fucked up. Here we are. Whether you buy that or not, there's a reason why all this keeps going round and round and round. You're in jail. There's nothing holy here. Okay, so we're all in prison. Biblical story. We're dead. We're in jail. Okay, you can be a model prisoner or you can be a bad prisoner. Everybody here, the Masons, the Jews, everybody's a prisoner. And even these people that claim that they can go out of their heads and go to these places always have to come back here. Because it's like being let out of jail for a day and then you got to come home. There's no way to get around it. So let's look at this picture here. If we look closely, we see he's got the 9 on. Okay? Look at the background here. Larry David is not looking at George Costanza because this is all filmed already. See how crisp and clean George looks compared to these guys? See, these guys are kind of blurred or faded. See how crisp he is? See the 9? I think that's their own code to let them know, because it's so perfect that it would fool them. The Bible talks about a thing called the great deception. And it says if it was possible, it would even fool these guys. So I'm thinking part of this has to do with all of this. So it's kind of like green screen. But just like when they do cartoons, they don't have a room full of people reading. They have one person come in like The Simpsons, and the guy that does Moe will say all the parts, and then they take those and they splice those in. The guy that does Homer does his bit, Marge does his bit. Sometimes they do them on the phone. They're not even in the studio. And so what happens is, then they put it all together and they make it look real. George Costanza, Jason Alexander, is not here. I've got footage from some other movies going back into the 60s where they were pulling this shit off. Okay? These people are not there. He is the only dude. He knows his lines, and he says them, and then they splice it to match up with Larry David's lines. Simple. Why they do it, I don't know. This picture here, if you look at the way his leg is, it's offset. Go Google George Washington Masonic pose, and you'll see that he's got the foot going off to the, I don't know, is it the left? I think so. I would assume it's still left because it's this path. The path going towards Saturn. So, you know, the other path would be over here, which you would think, right, would be, this is Saturn number 3, this would be Jupiter number 2, which would supposedly be Jesus, but it don't work out that way, because that is a dead end too. There's only one way up here, because this isn't really a representation of Christ at all. Christ was the one that was here. And don't get confused, Jesus is not represented by the X, although they like to tell you in Christianity X represents this and that. It really is this over here. I just put it here because, here, let me just fix that. There. Now we don't have to worry about it. Here, I'll do a McCleary. There. There you go. So the rainbow dealie is jumping these two because these two aren't connected. Kind of like, see how I got his head split in half? People are the same way. You've got the logical side of the brain, and then you got the religious side of the brain, or the spiritual. The two of them very rarely connect. There's a piece in the middle where they can, and I'll tell you, I do this all the time. If you've ever done the thing where they got the little ballerina that spins, and if they ask you which way is it spinning, I can flip that thing in my head. When I flip that in my head for that split second, basically what you're doing is you're making the other side of your head work, your brain. And so when I do it, I get this little tiny feeling of deja vu, because information is being transferred from one side of my brain to the other. And so there's a rainbow connection being made in my head. You see, because it's jumping from the left side to the right side. That rainbow connection works on a whole fucking bunch of levels. That's just one. You know, from the little teeny tiny electrons all the way up to the fucking universe. It's all the same way, going both ways. It's identical. And so, in this case, man is the center pillar, but Jesus was the cornerstone that the builders rejected, so they didn't do it, so we're fucking stuck. But, you know, like I said, we're in jail, and you have the right to be a model prisoner, or you could be an asshole. You have to decide these things for yourself. And say, well, am I really an angel in a monkey suit? Because that's what the Bible says that we are. I believe that that's what we are. Because we're tormented with acting like animals, but having the higher intelligence to know that we're doing wrong and having to fight those fucking urges. So, you know, this is stuff you have to weigh out in your head. I can't make these decisions for you. I'm giving you, you know, a line of sight from the way that I see it with the information I have. You can only base your decision on the information that's available to you. So the more you study and the more you think of things, the more apt you're able to make a decision that you made based on solely on what you have put together in your own head. Of course, you're going to have to listen to other people. That's how you learn. But you have to get a basic grasp, and as you can see that there's codes flying all over the place here. Somebody's running those codes. And they're not coming out and telling you straightforward that they're doing it. So there's some deception going on here. So we're trying to weed through that. And it isn't all Mason, and it isn't all Jew, and it's all of it. You know, remember, it's the whole Saturn thing. It's the woman, life's a bitch, and then you die. Right? Life's a bitch, and then you die. That's where those catchphrases come from. They throw them out there, and people think they're hip and they're cool. That ain't what it is. That ain't hip. That ain't cool. That's reality. You remember the big pussy in the last video? Well, that life's a bitch, and then you die.